giving you. No, I'm not. I'm willing to listen to your answer, which you won't even give. Where does truth, morals, meaning, and beauty, where do they come from?
It's a process of constant. We don't know the ultimate answer yet, but we continue to figure out. And when you
Right.
say that one text has all
So you don't
the
know.
answers, of course not. You don't know
Neither.
either. You're just pretending you do.
No, hold on. That's a knowledge claim. What you just did there is contradict what you just said.
What do you mean?
When you just said neither do you, that's a knowledge claim. That's not an agnostic position. That's a knowledge claim. So now do you want to take back your worldview and start over again? Because now you're making knowledge claims.
I genuinely don't know what you're saying. What's the argument you're making?
Now listen carefully again. You are making knowledge claims as an agnostic. Am I wrong about that?
Like I'm claiming that I know. No, I'm not claiming that I know things. I don't like.
Is it true that you're not claiming that you know things?
Not everybody knows everything because nobody.
Is it true that not everybody knows everything?
Nobody can be absolutely certain about anything.
Is it true that nobody can be absolutely certain about everything?
No.
Is it true that the answer is no?
The answer to what?
What you just said to my question.
Not everybody. Yeah, for sure. Nobody can be absolutely certain about anything.
Is it
can
true?
Be certain enough
Hold on a second. So is it absolutely true that no one can know anything for certain? Think about the absurdity of what this gentleman is in at this point.
Is it absolutely true that no? I didn't say nobody can know. I'm saying nobody does know at the moment.
That's a knowledge claim. That's a knowledge claim. How do you know that, sir?
How do you know that the Bible is true?
Hold on, sir. You just made a knowledge claim right after you said we can't know for certain.
So I think you're doing. Are you talking about the paradox of like?
This is what happens to you when you deny your creator, folks. You say things like, "I know for certain that we don't know anything for certain."
You're just playing a childish game with language.
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm using logic and reason.
So this is the paradox of like, oh, there are no absolute truth claims, and then somebody says, but that's an absolute truth claim, right?
Yep, that's right. It's called an infinite regress.
The implied thing is that the only absolute truth is that there are no absolute truths. Like that's the
right.
implication.
Yes, sir. It's called in philosophy. It's called an infinite regress. And it's a problem of truth in many minds.
So who created God? You can also do an infinite regress with that.
That's a logical fallacy. God is eternal. There is no creation. Creation is a creaturely word. Hold on a second. Creation is a creaturely category. It doesn't apply to the eternal God of the Bible. Sorry.
The universe is eternal.
Keep the sidewalks clear. Everybody here for the Dean of Students coming through, please. And for everyone. I always get corrected for that part. And for everyone. Not just for the Dean of Students.
For safety.
That's right, for safety. So once again, we have an agnostic student before us who is telling us, number one, he doesn't know anything for certain, and he's told us nobody does. On multiple occasions, he has said no one knows anything. But see, when he says no one knows anything, he could just say no one knows X. That is no longer agnosticism. Now, that's a knowledge claim.
I mean, you could be an adult. I could be an adult and say there's a small possibility that other people might know something for certain, which is why I keep asking.
But you would know it.
What is the
But
evidence?
you would not know it.
What do you mean I would not know it?
Because you're agnostic, you wouldn't know if someone knows something for certain.
The thing is, I could
Don't you see how ludicrous
solve
that
the problem
sounds?
you're presenting to me by just saying I have faith without believing in the Bible in particular.
I didn't say
don't
that.
have to go to the Bible to solve this problem. If you're saying I need to take for granted...
Of course you do, because without God you can't know anything for certain, and you've proven it to us time again. The more you keep talking, the more you validate my point.
The claim that you know God is also a knowledge.
It's like Shakespeare said, fast and furious signifying nothing. And if that's all you are, why engage in a conversation about absolute truth?
I'm not engaging in a conversation. I'm saying you do.
Well, you are.
I'm asking you for evidence
You're
over and
here.
over again that you have absolute truth. Because if you take what you're saying is true, that gay people are going to go to hell, that X, Y, and Z people are going to go to hell, acting on that would require berating people, ruining their quality of life while we're here right now, fucking with them, ruining friendships. So yeah, I think you have to be pretty certain of that. And I'm saying maybe we can all be grown up and say
you've admitted it's possible that I can't know these things because in your worldview, you don't know. So if you don't know, then you have to allow for the possibility that what I'm saying is true, and that that I know these things. And so what I'm saying is that area of your agnosticism, that it is possible for me to know that my worldview is true, number one, and number two, that the things I'm saying are true. I'm saying, yeah, that's my reality. Thank you.
What, that it's possible?
No. That in your worldview, the fact that it is possible that I do know things for certain, that is true. And you cannot, in your agnostic worldview, prove that it's not. So thank you for the conversation.
I'm saying that you don't have any evidence to affirm that we should absolutely take the Bible.
As an agnostic, what good is evidence if you can't know it to be true?
What do you mean? What good is evidence if you can't know it to be true?
Sir. As an agnostic, what you're saying is we can't know truth for certain. Right?
Yeah.
So if I present you with evidence, you wouldn't know it to be true.
It's not about
Don't you see a problem with it?
knowing for sure. It's about, okay, you're saying we should act a certain way because X things are true. So if you're saying, like, I should walk in that ground because it's not a lava chasm, I don't have to be 99.99% certain evidence, have extraordinary evidence. It's common fucking sense.
It could be, watch your language, please. Any evidence at all, it doesn't have to be that elaborate. It can be any evidence whatsoever. But in an agnostic worldview, evidence itself is unknowable.
It's not about knowing for sure. It's about knowing enough to
I'm saying it's not about knowing anything. No.
All you need to do is be certain.
Probability is your worst nightmare. If this is a pie of all knowledge, how much of it do you have?
Very small amount. Just like
exactly. So probability is something so infinitely removed from the realm of your knowing, because you could say this: I know A because of B. Watch this carefully. I know A because of B. I know B because of C. I know C because of D. Don't you understand what's going on there? What you do is you have an infinite regression where you never arrive at truth.
As the A in that scenario. That's
I don't just make that.
And you say that it's
so here's my argument.
But you're still saying God is A in that scenario.
If you listen carefully, my argument is very simple. It's this: I presuppose God as I prove the existence of God.
That's circular.
So what?
What do you mean? So if something is a circular claim, I can claim that about anything.
No,
I'm completely correct. You know why? Because I say I am. I presuppose that I'm correct. Therefore, I just prove that I'm correct.
No,
it's
sir.
a non-argument.
No, that's a vicious circular argument.
Yeah.
A virtuous circular argument is when you're trying to argue for your ultimate authority and truth claim. So, for example, you believe in reason?
What do you mean by believe in reason?
In other words, do you believe in logic, reason?
I think logic is a very useful tool that is more reliable than just relying on the edicts of an old text. But I'm sure there's limitations. For example, like, it's hard to process your own emotions using a logical schema.
Everything that you're saying right now, sure, and you can give us a whole lecture on it, right? And that's fine. So my question that I'm going to ask you is, when you give us a lecture on logic, do you use logic when you do that?
No, I think...
excuse me, no? Did you say no?
Yeah, for sure.
How do you give a lecture without logic, about logic?
Yeah, so here's the thing. So, like, it makes more
Try
sense...
it again, man.
It makes more sense to presuppose that you have to use logic than it does to presuppose that there's an omnipotent, omniscient being who specifically doesn't like gay people, specifically...
Okay, well, yeah. But you're already getting to a conclusion. You're already getting to a conclusion about something. But what I'm saying is, fundamentally, how do you validate reason without reason?
How do you validate God? You can have.
So you don't want to answer my questions. You just want to repeat my question with a question.
Without reason? Because people operating with a reason mindset do well. People who operate only on religion do not.
That's a logical fallacy called begging the question. By using it, you don't actually answer it. I asked you, how do you validate your reason without your reason? How do you do that?
Because when people have reasonable discourse, over time they end up creating wonderful inventions.
Do they use their reason while they create wonderful X, Y, and Z?
For sure. You have to use a scientific
So
method to do it.
that you admit to the circularity of what's known as rationalism. Right?
Circularity? How is it circular? I'm saying that it's effective. It works in the real world. I'm not saying that...
Your argument is not getting at the basis of what's known as the transcendental foundation of the worldview that you're espousing here. If you listen carefully to what I'm saying, I'll say it again, but if you listen carefully to what I'm saying, you accuse me of being circular in my reason.
Yeah.
What I'm telling you is that when you're accounting for certain absolute claims, circularity is necessary. For example, a rationalist uses reason to establish rationalism.
If you say circularity is necessary,
an empiricist uses empirical evidence to establish empiricism.
But you can cut out the middleman. For example, like I said before, I have faith that helping people is the right thing, and I have faith that making people happy and smile is the right thing.
Not answering the questions. I appreciate the conversation, but you're not answering the question. I'm asking you, how do you validate your reason without your reason? And you've told me, you've given me examples of reason. That's all you've done.
I think we have a language barrier here. What do you mean by validate? Like, do you mean like...
Validate. Exactly what you're teling me. Can't you validate Christianity? Can you authenticate Christianity? Can you give me proof for Christianity?
I can reason as a practice and a logical schema to use...
And do you use reason when you do that?
I don't use reason, I use the observation of the world around me. Those are two different things.
Wait a minute. The observation of the world around you is accessible to you without reason? So now are you an intuitionist or what?
You're trying to classify my philosophy.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, it's very simple.
It's called the history of philosophy, the origin of ideas. Everyone has them. They're inescapable. There's no way around it.
What I'm saying is that
you may not be mature enough to know where you fit, but you fit somewhere.
how much you need to be certain about things depends on what course of action something being true would imply that you have to take. So, for example,
you're making meaningless statements because you're assuming your reason while you reason with me, and you're saying that you don't have to give a...
I'm not assuming reason.
Yes, you are.
I'm saying...
You certainly haven't vindicated your reason. How do you know you're here? It's simple as this, my friend. How do you know, not as a Christian, don't speak as a Christian. How do you, as a non-Christian, how do you know you're not a brain in a vat? Okay, like our 21st century analogy. How do you know you're not in the Matrix? How do you know you're not in Elon Musk's digital simulation? How do you know that you're not in a room, a padded room somewhere with a needle in your back, and you're imagining this conversation?
I don't need to know that. That's what.
Well, okay, that's
comes
not,
back to like what you need to know
again, that's a non sequitur. Right, that's a non sequitur, irrelevant thesis argument. When I ask you how do you know, and you say I don't need to know, that doesn't answer the question,
You're deliberately framing the question and assuming that like we need to know. For
no,
sure
you don't
that
like
we're
the
not brain in
question.
a
That's the
vacuum.
problem.
You don't like my answer. That's the
You haven't given an answer. You gave an irrelevant thesis
You've
in
been
logic.
going on tangents, asking me
No,
questions.
sorry.
You said if you have a question about the Bible, come up here. And now
I
you're
asked
turning
you-
around and are continuing
Okay, well-
to critique other people's worldviews.
We'll try it again, folks. We'll try it again. How do you know that you're not a brain in a vat? You're not in a
Why do
padded
I need
room.
to know
That's right.
that?
And so his answer to that is, why do I need to? Don't you see that's called an irrelevant thesis? That's a logical fallacy. It doesn't answer the question. It doesn't answer the
Even if I
question.
believe for 100% sure that I was a bat somewhere,
Yeah?
like that wouldn't change how I act and operate in the world. So it doesn't.
No.
matter.
There's that wind, because they said 40-mile-an-hour gust today. That's pretty good. But
That's a perfect example of why the scientific method is more reliable in our day-to-day lives.
but you
More
wouldn't know it.
reliable is determined.
But you would know it because you're agnostic.
No, I've observed that the scientific method over the course of my life has relied in more
As
accurate
an
predictions and has been more useful to me.
agnostic, what you're doing is assuming the validity of your senses. Like your reason, your senses are also
It's
something
not
that you
even something.
assume to be reliable, and you cannot validate why they're reliable.
I can validate it
How?
because when I operate based on my senses, like for example, there's a car in the way. I
Yeah,
shouldn't
that's
go
a
in the
logical
road.
fallacy called begging the question. What you're saying is that I validate my senses by using my senses. Don't you see the problem with that?
using God.
Well, hold on a second. I never said that I never said I had a problem with circularity. Circularity is necessary when you're trying to account for the totality of your worldview.
Right. I'm like,
Yeah.
So we can go circular here too. I believe in my senses because my senses have been accurate over time, and to not believe in my
But the
senses
problem-
would be contrary to my senses. That's
Right.
a virtuous circle, not a what'd you call it, a vulture?
It's a vicious circular, because your circular reason does not account for, it doesn't account for everything in your worldview. It's only your personal worldview. It doesn't give us an ultimate infinite standard by which we can know all things.
I think most people would say,
No.
yeah, using my senses is
Now you have the once you talk about, okay, I accept. Here's the thing. Once you say, let's just say, because you did already. Let's just say you say, okay, I accept I'm circular too. I use my reason to prove my reason. Right? Once you say that, now you have what philosophers call the problem of truth in many minds. Because what's going on in your brain is not necessarily going on in my brain.
Right.
And so how do you know that what's going on in my brain does not refute what's going on in your brain? Don't you see the
It's
problem?
about observing the world
It
around
may-
me. So
no,
if
no, no.
I say there's no cars in the
You
street.
can observe it all you
you
want.
say there's cars in the street, right?
You can observe it all you want, but it's not necessarily what I'm observing.
Sure, it's not what you're
So
observing.
you're
But
back
if you
to
go in
square
it, if you
one.
play in traffic, you will die.
So you're
and
back to
everyone else
square one.
around us goes, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that guy wasn't correct that there was no traffic. All right, we can move on with our lives.
Yeah. So you're back
Same
to
schema.
you're back to square one, which is I don't know anything for certain.
I don't understand how that's relevant. What are you talking about?
Well, if you don't know anything for certain, this conversation in your worldview is
I know
meaningless.
I know things.
Every
for
word
certain,
that's
I
about
know
to come out of your mouth, every word that's about to come out of your mouth is meaningless in your worldview. Because here's why: it could be meaningful, but it could not, and we don't know. And so
We
what
can know based on what happens when we act on what we think is true.
that is assuming
time.
the validity of your reason and
No,
objective
it's not.
truth. Yes, it is, sir. You said we can know.
Yes.
So now you're accounting not only for the validity of your reason, but the validity of
It's not
everyone
just
else's
reason, it's
reason?
observing the world around us.
No, sir. It doesn't work that way. Sorry. that doesn't lead you to an infinite standard of
Why do we need
knowing.
an infinite standard of knowing?
Because if not, then who arbitrates? We're back to square one.
What do you mean who arbitrates?
Yes.
Again, the actual results of our actions as we observe them arbitrate.
You can't have absolute standards of meaning, morals, beauty.
Why do you need absolute standards? At one time we thought,
Why do you need absolute
dating a
standards?
child was okay. Then over time we
Because
realized
if you
that
don't have
children can't
absolute
consent.
standards, then you have subjective standards. Then you have
We have
conventions of
standards that
man.
constantly improve
Are you okay?
as we
All right.
observe the world around us.
We'll
and see
find
the
out if
results
you,
of our
yeah,
actions.
we'll find out if you care about absolute standards or not. So what you're saying right now is that there is no absolute morality?
Wait, I'm confused as to why that's relevant.
Because you're the one that brought up the fact that we don't need absolute standards. And I'm saying, yes, you do. And if you don't have an absolute standard of morality, what do you have?
We need to act as if some things are absolutely true, even if they're not.
That's not the question I asked you. That's not the question I asked you. The question you're wanting to answer is called pragmatism. But I didn't ask you about pragmatism.
But
I
that's what
asked
I'm
you.
affirming.
What's that?
That's what I'm affirming. So you're asking
I know
me
you
to
are,
defend a worldview
but
I
I'm
don't
at
have.
right. But I'm actually pointing you towards the conclusion of your argument. The necessary consequence of your argument is that there's no absolute morality. If there's no absolute morality, then you have no right to object to any morality. Don't you see that? You don't.
Of course, I have the
On
right
what
to object.
basis? On what basis?
Let's remove the abstraction of morality. I have the right to object to other people's actions. I don't have to apply a normative statement to it.
So what? It's not going to be meaningful.
Sure, we have faith that it's meaningful.
So what if you have faith?
We have faith that it's wrong to hurt other people, and if everybody acted that way, we'd get much better results than having faith that conversion therapy is okay or something like that, because maybe in the afterlife something will improve.
Uh-huh.
So, like, again, acting on the world around us instead of the hypothesized abstract world or afterlife you talk about has a much better observable success rate.
You wouldn't know it.
What do you mean I wouldn't? I see
You
it.
surrendered knowledge at the beginning of our conversation. You said we can't know things for certain.
If you step out of this abstract framing,
Why?
and you just look
So you want to
around
live
the
in
world-
hypothetical? I don't live in hypothetical world, sir. I live in the real world. Where
I live in the real world, too.
Where you, no, apparently you don't. Well, you wouldn't know if you lived in the real world because according to you, we can't know anything for certain.
I know. I'm certain enough that I live in the real world. Everybody else is certain enough.
How
that
do
we're
you?
going to continue to-
Whoa, wait a minute. Now you're stipulating what other people know for certain. How do you know that?
I mean, do you all know that killing is wrong enough
No,
to
no,
let
no,
them do it?
But
I
even
mean, come on.
asking them presupposes that you can have objective knowledge of what other people know.
I'm asking.
You're no longer, man. I tell you what.
We can ask people.
You're like this. You're like this, man. It's like today. I'm agnostic. I'm not agnostic. I am agnostic. I'm not agnostic.
You're trying to create a false taxonomy of beliefs so that you can easily
No,
attack
sir.
with pre-rehearsed.
No,
arguments.
this is the thorny problem with worldviews. You either have a consistent one or you don't, and you certainly do not.
My worldview, again, is that
You borrow from Christianity in order to substantiate a knowledge claim, and then when you make a knowledge claim and you follow to its logical conclusion, then you default back to Gnosticism. Or to
my
agnosticism.
worldview is that
Your worldview
how
is
certain
agnostic.
how certain we have to be about a given truth claim
Anything at
depends
all.
on the observed.
I want to know if you have any certainty whatsoever. Any whatsoever.
I
I
have
don't think you
different
do.
amounts of certainty about different aspects of the world. For example, I'm reasonably certain that I'm standing on the ground right now to the point where I wouldn't act as if I'm not. However, I am not reasonably certain that in the afterlife, a majority of my friends will burn in hell forever because they didn't subscribe to your God. The latter claim requires much more certainty than simply saying that the ground around me exists, because acting on that worldview would imply a much more drastic course of
Yeah, it
action.
must be nice to sit here and talk about all the things that you know, even though you have a
I
worldview
never said I
that
know.
says at the very
I said
beginning
how
you
certain
can't
I can
know.
be. It's not either I know or I don't know. It's how certain can I be.
So once again, folks, Exhibit A, this is what happens to you when you reject your Creator. You are fast and furious, signifying absolutely nothing. You can sit here all day and stipulate the things that you don't like about Christianity, but at the end of the day, you could be wrong. Matter of fact, he said, yeah, I could be wrong and you could be right. And therefore, he has no basis to morally or philosophically object to anything.
We have to be more certain
The best thing
about knowledge.
the best thing an agnostic,
to others.
the best thing an agnostic can do is to do nothing.
See, you're
Because
talking past me now because you don't want to engage in the argument. That's another common
You're not-
tactic of evangelicals. It happens over and over again. When
Yeah.
you realize that you're not going to convince somebody with half-baked arguments, you look to the crowd for approval.
Like what?
Or look for people who are
I'd like
more
you to
receptive.
point out one, sir. Just one half-baked argument, sir.
I've been pointing them out over and over again.
I haven't
You keep
heard one.
You keep on describing my claim of
Try this
somewhat
again.
certainty as absolute certainty. You keep on describing my claim that we can't be absolutely sure about anything, but we can be reasonably sure about some things as me making an absolute knowledge claim.
Okay,
You keep
can
on
I-
describing me as an agnostic when I did not say that.
I think it's very simple. Listen to what you just said. You said my claim of not being able to know anything for certain, and then to have some certainty of something. That's called a self-refuting argument. Well, you just said it's self-refuting. Thank you for the conversation.
I guess
But
the
it shows
better-
once
the
again
better word would be
why
confidence.
agnosticism is futility.
You're playing games with language. What I meant by
I'm
certainty is
not.
confidence. I could be
No, I'm not.
reasonably confident, again, that the ground I'm standing on is real, that guy's wearing a MAGA
Yeah, you're
hat,
wrong about that.
you're standing on the chair.
No, you're wrong about that.
I could be
You
reasonably
just,
confident.
if you just study the history of philosophy, this is why
Look
philosophers...
around at the world around you. Why do I need to study the history of philosophy to know that he's wearing a MAGA hat, he's wearing headphones, and you're wearing a blue polo? Why do I need to study philosophy to know that? That's an absurd burden of proof.
How do you know it's absurd, sir? You don't know anything for certain.
It's common sense.
How do you know that it's common sense, sir? You don't know anything for certain, according to you.
You don't know anything for certain either. You're just pretending.
That's a knowledge claim. That's not an agnostic claim.
Well,
You
can
see,
you
this
define
is
knowledge
this
claim
is
for me?
what's called the frustration of your worldview. This gentleman wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to say is like, no, I stick to the fact that we don't know anything for certain, but I know that you're wrong. That's a knowledge claim. So he just refuted his
I can
worldview.
be reasonably confident that you're wearing a blue polo.
Reasonable confidence is not certainty, sir.
You don't have to have certainty. You just
Are
need
you
a reasonable
certain?
amount of confidence.
Are you certain that you don't have to have certainty?
I don't need to be certain about that either.
Are you certain that you don't need to be
I
certain?
am reasonably confident that I don't need to be
Are
certain.
you certain that you're reasonably certain?
What?
Exactly.
What is the question? Am I certain?
What he's saying is, I know A because of B, I know B because of C, I know C because of D. It's called an infinite
You
regression.
describe A as God. That's
This is what happens to you when God gives you over to your devices.
For me, A is observing the world around me.
When the man is the measure of all things, he knows
For
nothing but
me,
certain.
my basis is observing the world around me. That's A. For
The Bible
you,
calls
your
it
basis
darkness.
is an abstract argument that requires an absurd burden of proof.
You wouldn't know it, sir. You wouldn't know it.
I wouldn't know what. Again,
Anything.
you don't need to be certain. You just need to be reasonably confident.
How do you like that, guys? How you guys like that? You don't need to be certain. You just need to be reasonably certain.
said
It's called
confident.
your worldview is arbitrary.
It's not arbitrary.
It fails on logical fallacies,
You
sir.
don't play in traffic because you need to be very certain that there is no cars.
Okay, I'm going to let you guys in on a big secret. Here you go. Ready? My friend here, even though he claims to be agnostic,
I never said it was agnostic. You just made
as
it
a
up.
Christian, my friend here actually knows things, but
Never
not
said that.
because of his worldview, because of mine. The Bible says all people know God. They know He exists. They
No,
know in their heart of hearts that He
no.
exists,
No.
that He is eternal,
That's
that He
true.
created you, and that you are accountable to Him.
No.
And in your heart
No.
of hearts, you know it
I
to be
know.
true.
You're making a knowledge claim now. How do
Yeah.
you know what's in
Oh,
the
yeah,
heart?
of course, because
How do
I'm
you
not
know in the heart of
agnostic.
hearts about it? How do you know that
Yeah.
Christianity
I'm making
has
knowledge
been
claims, sir,
around-
because I never surrendered knowledge like you did.
The history of humanity is over 10 times as old as the history of Christianity. So the idea that we didn't know anything before Christianity is absurd. The history of writing predates Christianity. Do we not know anything about writing before Christianity?
History presupposes deduction. Deduction presupposes logic, which you cannot know in an agnostic universe or an agnostic
based on
worldview.
the evidence,
Welcome to your
reasonably
worldview.
certain.
Welcome to your worldview. Of being reasonably certain as a person that doesn't know anything for certain. Welcome to your
Reasonably
worldview.
confident. I didn't say certain. I said reasonably
Yeah.
confident.
That's why you
Certainty
can't define.
implies an absolute
Yeah, that's why
amount.
you can't define an absolute standard of good without borrowing from the Christian worldview. I bet you live like a Christian every day.
Actually,
Every single day you live like a Christian, don't you?
Oh, because like I don't kill people or something? Like,
Of course, you don't murder. I hope not.
People.
When you go to a cash register, you demand exact change for things that you. Have you ever bought a car?
No, all I'm saying.
Okay, I've bought many cars. Have you ever bought a car, you students? You bought a car, you go to the finance office, it's horrible. It takes forever, you're in there all night, okay, negotiating and haggling back and forth. You look at about 20 lines of your finances, you want every single penny to be accounted. What if that finance guy turned to you that night and goes, hey man, you're agnostic, so am I. What's the price of the car? Don't worry about it. We're agnostic. It's just what's a few $1,000 between even an agnostic. It could be 1,000, it could be 100. What does it matter?
I can be
You
reasonably
don't live like
I
that.
can be reasonably confident that losing $1,000
You know how you
would
live?
significantly hurt
You
me.
live
I cannot be
like a
reasonably
Christian.
confident that hell exists.
You live like a Christian. Thou shalt not steal. If somebody walked right by here, took your wallet, I bet you wouldn't look at that person and go, well, I'm agnostic.
Stealing,
What does it matter?
slavery, rape, and murder is
Or
wrong.
maybe,
I don't need to rely on a religious text.
Maybe your cell phone. That's even more valuable nowadays. If somebody walked by and took your cell phone, I bet you wouldn't be an agnostic. You would be an absolute moralist. You would believe in absolute morality. You'd be a transcendentalist. You would believe that it's absolutely true that person stole from you, and that's what you would say in court too.
Actually, I'd be more worried about my self-interest.
You would say that in total violation of your own worldview. At least that's your espoused worldview. I know that you're not agnostic. I know you're not atheist. I know that you're not this skeptic that you claim you are. I know that you can know things for certain, but that's because you're created in God's image.
I do not know for certain that stealing is absolutely 100% wrong, but I know
course
with
you
reasonable
do.
certainty
Of course you
that
do.
we have to ban stealing as a
Wait
society.
till you're a dad. Wait till you're a father. Somebody does something to your child, you're going to know for certain that somebody committed moral
So I'm going to keep
evil.
on talking until we actually have a conversation. You can't just talk over me to make an argument.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the argument ended in the first minute of the conversation when you surrendered knowledge.
I'm saying it's over, but that doesn't mean it is.
Yeah, this is Fast and Furious signifying nothing. This is all this is. All you are doing, you know what this is like, right? For you, it's like taking a bottle of pop, soda, shaking it up, letting it explode, and then looking at it and say, what, taking two bottles, right? Let's say Coke, Pepsi. You shake them up, you open them up, and then you ask the question, which one's true? What? It doesn't apply. Same thing for you. Once you surrender knowledge, everything you're saying right now doesn't apply because you don't know. It's meaningless.
You keep asserting that you have to be absolutely certain and there have to be absolute
If we didn't come
truths.
from God, sir, where did we come from?
I mean, there's a mountain of evidence that we came through a natural process of natural selection. Like, that is like...
I'll let the conversation keep going, but, evidence presupposes knowledge. Knowledge presupposes certainty.
If we find thousands and thousands
again,
of fossils over
is
time,
no longer agnostic. Now
more
he knows what he knows because now he's even able to observe evidence, apparently. So, okay. So evolution. So you're saying about evolution. So we evolved.
Yes.
So we're just matter in motion?
What do you mean by matter in motion?
Yes, sir. Sir, listen, modern day contemporary evolutionary theory says that we are the byproduct of random, unguided, undesigned chance, and that all we are is matter that moves.
That's not quite what it is.
No, that's exactly what it is.
That's often something that even
I have some of the leading professors on record saying all we are is stardust floating around. Is that what you believe?
That's not about random chance or
Okay.
whatever the hell.
Well, yes, it is because they're atheists too, and they
here's what
believe
it is.
nobody
It's about
guided it.
trial and error. Okay, so say I'm shooting at a target.
Sir, I'm
I miss
asking
the
you.
target. I'm not going to shoot in a random direction after I miss the target. I'm going to get closer to the target. Same
Uh-huh.
with evolution. If one species comes around and it doesn't survive,
Yeah.
it's not like you start from scratch with a completely random species. Over time, species are more and more suited for their environment. That's what it means.
Now, isn't it nice to know things?
Again, you keep on claiming that I'm saying I know things, but I'm not.
Okay, all right, I try to help you. Okay, isn't it terrible not to know things?
Again, we can be reasonably certain about
Which
things.
one do you want, man?
You
Isn't
want
it nice to know things, or isn't it nice not to know things? Which one do you want? I'm trying to
That's a
help
false
you.
dichotomy. It's not about it's not about not knowing or knowing. It's about on
So
a
all we are-
wide range between knowing and not knowing. How confident can you be given the amount of evidence you observed around you?
All
That's
we
what
are
it
is matter in motion.
So you're describing something in deliberately pessimistic language so
Wanna
that
know if
everybody
your
has doubts and
worldview-
wants to believe in religion to feel
Sure,
better.
sure.
But that's not actually an
I
argument.
understand. You said that before. Sir, all we are is matter in motion. Where do we get meaning, morals, and beauty?
We can ascribe whatever meaning to our existence that
It's
we
just a
want.
convention.
What do you mean? You keep on saying just a convention. That's
Yes.
a normative argument.
Yeah. That's the only
It's
option.
great that we
If
can
it's not
decide that human
transit-
beings have meaning.
if
It
it's
is
not-
great that we can decide that everybody around us has inherent worth and deserves rights. It is great that we assume that having green space is a good thing
I
and
agree.
act on that.
Yeah, I
It is
agree.
great to do that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you keep on saying just, but that's a normative assumption. That's not an actual argument.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. I agree that it's great for all those things. I ask you again, where do we get meaning, morals, and beauty, and are they absolutes or not?
We take the morals and meaning.
Are they
that
absolute or not?
No, they're not absolute.
Okay, so there's no absolute morality?
No, it doesn't have to be absolute. Again,
Okay,
observe
so
the world around you and
Murder,
see what
so murder, rape, pedophilia, those are not absolutely wrong. They're just conventionally wrong.
they are so wrong that it's reasonable to punish people and lock them away for doing it to other people, and that's all that matters.
Oh, so it doesn't matter if they're
Absolute is a
so it doesn't matter if they're actually wrong. It just matters that if
It
we
matters
act.
that they hurt other people and
Right.
we saw them hurt other people.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
So agnosticism, just for you guys that care about philosophy and the history of philosophy, agnosticism always reduces itself to pragmatism. Pragmatism is the denial of transcendental morals, meaning, and beauty, which means you can't have the basis for beauty. So in other words, for example, I'll give you an example. People are putting crucifixes in a bottle of urine and they're calling that art. Okay, would you let people do that with a picture of your mother? Okay, this is what Rome, the Roman Empire did, and what that led to, because they rejected God as a standard of morality and goodness, they ended up plastering Rome with public pornography. How would you like your child to live in a world with public pornography? Right? Because just like him, they did not believe in an absolute standard of right and wrong, and so there's nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong.
The Vatican is the
putting
great
vile
capital of the
things.
religious world. That
I'm
doesn't
not
make
a,
sense.
I'm not a
It's not an
Catholic, so I'm a
argument.
Christian.
Catholics
But
are Christian. So you're denying the religiosity of the largest denomination of Christianity.
not
in the
denying the
world?
religiosity, I'm
You're
denying
validity
the
of the original
Orthodox.
Christian faith? There
Sir,
was no
listen for a
Protestant
second.
faith.
Listen for a second. Have you ever heard of the Protestant Reformation?
Yes.
That's a denial of Catholicism, sir. The 95 Theses nailed on the door of Wittenberg by Martin Luther is a rejection of the Catholic
so the
faith.
translation of the Bible isn't 100% correct. I was confused because I thought you said it was copied perfectly,
That's
and now you're saying there was
obviously
such a
non-
schism.
doesn't
that-
follow.
Yeah, it does follow. You said the Bible was copied for 6,000 years from the Dead Sea Scrolls and no alterations. Now you're saying that
6,000 6,000 years. Okay, man, you're onto something, bro.
And now you're saying
You're listening
actually,
carefully, that's for
there
certain.
was a whole reformation and schism where somebody wrote 95 ways that all previous transliterations of the Bible and interpretations were incorrect.
I'm so glad that you're spirited enough to sit there and espouse the convictions that you have, which I would say are unfounded, but at least you're willing to sit there.
What convictions? What do you think?
Oh, just anything. Your convictions of right and wrong, your convictions of why we do right and wrong.
My
your
convictions,
convictions
I
of...
have stated what I believe over and over again. And
I know
you
that.
talk over me
Yeah,
and
I know that.
strawman me for the crowd.
Well, I think for the record, we know who's talking over who. I'm asking you questions, you usually answer them with a question. I'm asking you a detailed question about your worldview, and you usually give me some
I started
non-sequitur
asking
answer.
you questions, and then you ask me questions.
Right. You usually give me an answer that's not even relevant to what we're talking about. When I ask you if you believe that morality is transcendent, you say, we just do it because.
When I ask you what evidence there is that the Bible is...
I gave you the evidence and you don't like it. I give you the
You
evidence
said
and you
the
don't like
evidence
it.
was that it was copied over and over again, it was old, and you
Nope.
saw a bunch of archaeological tombs.
Nope,
You
that's
could
not
say-
my evidence.
What is your evidence of the Bible?
Not what I said, sir.
Is the evidence of your Bible that I'm not correct about everything? Is that what it is?
I'll say it again one more time. The argument of biblical Christianity is built on a transcendental argument, and this is how it goes. Why is Christianity true? Because of the impossibility of the contrary. The attempt to deny Christianity asserts Christianity because you borrow from Christianity. You are living on borrowed capital. Every time you speak against Christianity, every time you speak against Christianity, you borrow principles that are rooted in Christianity, like logic, like reason, like morality,
Logic
like
and
right
reason
and
are not rooted
wrong.
in Christianity.
Yes, they are.
The history of philosophy predates Christianity.
No,
You
it does
keep
not, sir.
referencing
Oh,
it.
thank you very
Aristotle
much.
was not a Christian. Socrates was not a Christian.
I
Plato
know
was
that.
not a Christian. Like, what are you talking about? You keep on referencing the history of philosophy and reason, which predates Christianity in your arguments. And then you say that Christianity is the source of logic and philosophy?
This is obviously naive and facile, what's going on
So you're
here.
claiming that Aristotle was a Christian. That's your claim.
When you talk about the history of philosophy, it didn't start with Aristotle, sir. It started with
Where did it
Thales,
start?
and it started with the Milesians. It did not start with Socrates or
Are
Aristotle or
those
Plato.
people older than Aristotle, right? They're older? They also predate Christianity.
No, they don't.
They don't predate Christianity?
Ever heard of Adam and Eve?
Oh, so it doesn't predate the made-up Genesis creation story of Christianity. Excuse me.
Yeah,
I'm
hello,
talking
I'm a
about the
Christian, I
actual
believe the
life.
Bible.
I
Listen,
didn't
sir,
think about
I don't just believe the New Testament where it says Jesus died on the cross and rose again. I believe in Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the
I'm
earth.
saying the practice.
I believe that too. You know what I mean?
The practice of Christianity happened way after the origins of philosophy.
The God of Christianity is the same God that revealed himself to Adam and Eve.
But the people
Nothing predates the first man and woman on planet Earth. Nothing.
You are saying that Christianity, not God, Christianity is the source of logic and reason.
Yeah, Christianity rightly defined, which is the only true religion that ever has been, ever is, and ever will be.
Even if we accept your creation story, Adam and Eve predate the time when people practice Christianity, because that didn't happen until Jesus came around.
What I'm saying is that your understanding of Christianity is fundamentally flawed because of your ignorance of biblical theology. And that's okay, because I don't expect you to have biblical theology and understand biblical theology unless you study it. So Any biblical theologian understands that the same God that Adam and Eve knew in the Garden of Eden is the same God that is revealed, that sent Jesus Christ to die on the cross and rise again.
So if you want to say that logic and reason comes from God, that's one thing, but you're saying it comes from Christianity, which as an actual religion that people practice did not come around until Jesus.
Yeah, Christianity in name, I understand what you mean, but Christianity in its essence predates the name. Do you know that the name Christianity, do you know where it came from?
What would you call the essence of Christianity?
Real quick, do you know where the name Christianity came from?
Christ.
No, sir. Where did it come from? Who said, where did it originate?
Wasn't it the Paul or whoever?
No, sir. Christianity is the name that was given to the sect of Christians by the enemies of Christianity as a name of slander. They were so-called Christian. They were first called Christians in the book of Acts. You see that, okay? For example, in Acts chapter, I think it's Acts chapter 17, but in other words, we didn't invent the word Christianity. We understand that the true and living God has revealed himself to Adam, to Abraham, to Moses, to Isaiah, to Jesus, to Paul.
Evidence?
Well, evidence that you won't accept because you don't have a biblical worldview. You have an agnostic worldview. I can give you evidence, sir, I can give you evidence that piles up to the moon. And you know why you won't accept a shred of it? Because of your worldview.
You have not cited any evidence that would be believable outside of already accepting your conclusions.
Right, I gave you the evidence. I'll give it to you
again. Your conclusion in order to believe that your evidence is valid,
I'll give you evidence that I am encouraged by as a Christian, but that's because I'm a Christian. For example, there's 25,000 manuscripts of the Bible.
I'm asking you, why should a non-Christian who hasn't already accepted the conclusions of Christianity, what evidence do you have for people like that?
No, sir. People don't accept Christianity on the basis of evidence. They accept Christianity on the basis of knowledge. They know they're sinners. They know they're accountable to God, and they know that unless
I'm a sinner. I'm not a sinner. People around me are not inherently
They know that unless they repent, they will go to hell and not to heaven.
That's not true. You just made that up. That's not true.
Well, I understand that you disagree with it, but I'm telling you on the basis of my worldview and what the Bible says, there are no such things as atheists or agnostics. People actually do know things, and people actually believe in God in their heart of hearts.
No, I don't.
They suppress that knowledge through unrighteousness. In other words, because they choose rebellion rather than submission to the lordship of Jesus Christ, they suppress the truth.
Christ?
What's that?
If people inherently believed in Jesus Christ, you wouldn't have had to send missions all over the colonized world in order to convert them.
They believe, and I said it earlier, they believe that God exists, that he is infinite, eternal, that he made them, that they're accountable to him. These are the limits of conscience and creation. These are the limits of what you can know through your human, God-given conscience and through the creation around you, that you know here is something made it, somebody big and great made all of this, and you know in your heart of hearts that whoever made all this, that you live in light of him.
Heart of hearts. That is something that you just presuppose. I do not know that in my heart of hearts.
I presuppose it on the basis of revelation from God.
I think it is a beautiful, wonderful thing that I am happy to live in, and be exuberant, and even sanctify it without thinking somebody
sounds religious.
You can do that. You can
have a religious, man.
You can have a religious and spiritual worldview that does not rely on the.
You know why? Because you're trying to ascribe meaning to your worldview, and you can't do it without borrowing from the religious language of Christianity.
Christianity is not the only faith that has religious language. You're claiming it does, and it doesn't.
Right, but you got to remember, I'm a Christian, and so my argument is that there's only really one religion that exists in terms of truth metaphysically, and that's the true and living God of the Bible. That's it.
That might be what you believe, but that
Yes,
doesn't mean
sir.
that there aren't numerous religions that also use similar.
Oh, there's
language.
countless. There's thousands of religions.
Secular humanism is one.
But the
such
Bible
religion.
says that the gods of the nations are idols, and but God created the heavens. And so only the creator of the universe is a true and living God, which obviously my argument is that that's the God revealed in the Old and New
You
Testament
still
of the
haven't
Bible.
given any reason that we have to think that somebody created the universe in order to either sanctify it
Yeah.
or act upon what we observe in the world.
I gave you the evidence, but you don't accept it
You keep
because
on
you're not
repeating that
Christian.
line, but you haven't actually given any evidence.
What good is evidence to an agnostic who can't know anything for certain?
Again, we can look at the world. I'm asking you based on what I can actually
I know you don't
observe
like
and
that
see in the world.
because it holds your feet to the fire, but that is where you're at, unless you want to reject your worldview and start over again. Somebody that doesn't know things for certain, what good is evidence? That's
Evidence
like,
can make you reasonably confident about things. It doesn't make you absolutely
that's like
certain.
going up to a delusional human being and telling them about reality. What good is it?
What are you calling me delusional because
No,
I want
no,
to
sir,
look at
sir,
the physical
sir.
world around
Sir,
me in
sir.
order to like.
Why
reach a
why
conclusion?
students are not capable of this is beyond me. I gave you an analogy, a metaphor. I didn't call you delusional in that sense. I used the metaphor of a delusional human being. And wouldn't you agree if you and I went up to a person that was completely delusional? Let's say they believe they were, they were an alien from another world, and
Right.
they had it all worked out, and everything
Right.
we told them, they just interpreted along the planet that they're from and the spaceship they came from.
Right.
And we said, like, sir, don't you understand? You're in America. This is 2019. What good is giving evidence to that person that's so delusional? It's impossible. It's like telling a blind person, right, what it's like to see. It's not gonna matter to him because he'll never know it in his
I know what
experience.
it's like to feel spirituality and to feel that kind of feeling, and that's what you're saying. But that doesn't mean that I have to like believe that empirically a God exists and that the Bible is exactly what He wants for people. That's a leap that you don't have to make in order to be a spiritual person who finds sacredness in the world around them.
Yeah. My argument for Christianity, the argument against you is this: is that without the God of the Bible, you can know nothing for certain, and you've proven that today. So thank you.
What do you mean I've proven that today? I have not. You keep
Okay.
on trying to get the
You want to
right
start
thing.
over again? What time is it? Tell us what you know for certain and how do you know it?
Why you keep on saying tell us what you know for certain? I reject the idea that you have to know things for absolute certain.
Are you certain that you reject it for certain?
Am I certain about my own intent? That's the one thing I can say for certain.
How do you know that? Okay, so you are certain about something. So you're no longer agnostic. Keep that in mind, folks. He just abandoned
I know how I feel about
agnosticism.
this. What do you mean?
And
I
now
know
he's saying he knows for certain something.
You know what?
What do you know for
You know
certain?
what? You have convinced me that I'm not actually 100% certain about my own feelings. I am
All right.
I am
Woo.
just so reasonably confident in them because I
Yes.
exist inside of my own being that I'm comfortable expressing them.
Give him a round of applause. Because at least we made some progress, right?
So yes.
Okay,
So
tell
what
us
was
again. Here we go, one more
What
time.
was the original question
Yeah,
again? So we don't get off
yeah,
track?
here we go. It's real hard. What do you know for certain and how do you know it?
I don't need to know things for certain. I don't know anything
That's
for
a
certain.
non sequitur argument. It's irrelevant.
How is it irrelevant? I'm
Doesn't answer the
answering your
question, sir. It doesn't answer the
I do
question.
not know things for certain. You are presupposing that I know
Wait a
things for
minute.
certain.
Wait a minute. So are you back to agnosticism again? You just rejected it. You just said you knew things for certain.
No,
And now
there
you're
must
saying
have-
you don't.
There must have been a confusion. Okay.
Oh man, I got you on tape, man. What are you? Okay, say it again. What do you know for certain and how do you know it?
I don't need to know anything for certain.
Do you know that for certain?
No.
There you go. Thank you guys. That's what happens when you reject your creator.
Oh, did you like take a video of the last 2 minutes of the interaction so that you could spread it around the internet and say, Lay Epic College? Like, come on, guys.
No. We record everything in context and release everything in context. But what I'm saying is this, is that we're right back to where we started from an hour ago or however long we've been talking.
Right.
Which is that on the basis of your worldview, you cannot know anything for certain. You say it doesn't matter that I don't know anything for certain, which is irrelevant. There you go. This is what happens to you when you
So
reject
are
your
you
creator.
leaving now?
What's that?
Are you leaving? Is that why you're trying to wrap up?
I am wrapping up in a little bit, but what I'm saying is that the reason why we're concluding these, why I think the argument was over the first minute that you surrendered knowledge. The minute you did that, the argument was over. And technically speaking, Because if we can't know knowledge for certain, then everything we're both about to say is meaningless.
Just because you don't know for sure doesn't mean it's meaningless.
No, sir. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Why?
I know you're not going to like what I'm about to say, but to study the history of philosophy, this is exactly where
The
David...
history of philosophy predates Christianity, and every philosopher agrees with it.
Hold on a second, sir. I was saying something. You study the history of philosophy, that's exactly where David Hume ended up. Ended up in a violent skepticism, where he rejected the possibility of knowing anything. And that violent skepticism was where every other philosopher picked up. That's where Immanuel Kant picked it up, Hegel picked it up. That's where all these other philosophers picked it up, because they thought, no, we can't embrace radical skepticism like Hume. We have to be able to account for doing philosophy. We can't keep our universities open if we're all just surrendering to skepticism.
I'm not saying, so when you say surrender to skepticism, is what you're saying, like,
the idea that we can't know anything for certain.
Just because you say you don't know anything for certain doesn't mean that you can't be confident enough about things to act on them.
Oh, I know that, but the worldview...
Saying,
yeah, no. I know that, but you'd have to surrender your worldview and start over.
What worldview? What were you talking about?
The worldview that led you to the conclusion that you can't know anything for certain.
Why would you have to...
It's called agnosticism.
I don't have to surrender the idea that I can't know anything for certain.
Oh, I know you probably won't, because you're a practicist.
To be confident about
you live like a
whenever
Christian
I know,
every day.
whenever I think I know, in order to act on it. Like, it's not that
I know you're not going to in a real world, because in the real world you live like a Christian. We've already established that.
I do not. Like you
Thou
say,
shalt not steal from you. Thou shalt not murder you.
I mean,
thou shalt not disrespect your parents.
Your definition of living like a Christian, I also
you
have
know
to
that. Thou
relate.
shalt not lie to you. Listen, if you don't live like a Christian, you're in trouble. You won't graduate from this college.
Now you are
doing
like
the liberal.
You are doing the liberal reductionist Christianity.
Right. If you don't live like a Christian, you will not graduate from this college.
What do you? So if I don't
if
walk
you don't
around
abide
telling
by,
everybody that
if
there's
you
something
don't abide
to
by these principles, thou shalt not lie. You will not
Those are
graduate.
cherry-picked principles. If I agree with some things that Christians happen to espouse, that doesn't make me a Christian. I don't agree with walking around...
I didn't say it made you a Christian, sir. I didn't say it made you a Christian. It says that you're borrowing Christian capital in order to practically live in the real world. And of course, once again, that's what the Bible says happens to everybody. They end up living contrary to their profession. They don't live like consistent nihilists, skeptics, agnostics, existentialists,
I'm not a skeptic
mystics.
or a nihilist. You keep on saying I am. I'm not.
I didn't say you were, sir. I'm rattling off many worldviews at this point. You are essentially an existentialist agnostic. That's what you are. I know you may not want to say that you are, but categorically, unless you prove me otherwise, that's what you are. You believe that you believe that morality is subjective, it's not ultimate. You believe that truth is not knowable, certainly not knowable. That's agnosticism. You are an agnostic subjectivist.
I would describe what I believe as contextualism. Now let me describe it again. Let me try to phrase it in a different way to make sure that I can make the distinction for you. Okay? So...
Real quick before you do that, does anybody else have any questions about Christianity, the Bible? I know this gentleman has been kind enough to sit here and talk with us, and for the most part been very respectful. But if there's somebody else with a different question, the microphone works for a little while longer. Of course, we're usually here. Oh! I'll be here tomorrow because you have a false teacher coming to the campus. His name is Jesse Morrell. He'll be preaching here. He is a heretic. He preaches a false Christianity, and he's going to say he's going to do it here. So I'm going to be here to confront him and ask him to leave because I don't want to be associated with him, and that's been happening here on campus lately. People associate me with a heretic like Jesse Morrell. And he doesn't believe God knows the future. He believes that Christians can be sinless and not sin, and he believes in a lot of other crazy doctrines. And so I'm going to be here to confront him tomorrow, Lord willing. But the microphone will be on just for a few more minutes if somebody has a question for me about the Bible or Christianity. If not, I'll let you have the last word. How's that?
I don't want to make a final statement or anything. I'll probably just continue to talk until your time comes.
Yeah, well, you can come anytime, use my microphone, and as long as you're rational and as long as you're willing to have a conversation, the microphone will work.
Well, does anybody else want to get the microphone? Because I've been here.
Nobody rose their hands or nobody came forward, so that's okay. But
okay.
But you're free to do that. The microphone. Listen, just so you know, the microphone is really not for Christians.
Yeah, you said that.
If you're a Christian, I don't want to talk to you on the microphone. I'll talk to you afterwards. I'm here for non-Christians. It's not hard to get. I'm here to talk to people that are not Christians. That's the whole purpose of coming to the campus, is to talk to people that need Christianity, that need the